Welcome back to the Pylon Cam YouTube channel. I'm your host, Mike Frisella, and we have our weekly power ranking video. Sorry if I sound sick. My allergies have been literally at an all-time high. They are just, can't breathe, can't do anything. But anyway, before we get into the video, just want to give the usual disclaimer that I always give. Biggest thing for me with power rankings is I definitely try not to overreact. I definitely don't just look at the box score and I'm like, oh, the Jets beat the Titans. Let me put the Jets as the number 3 team in the NFL. No, it doesn't happen. I look at how which team played the other team and how the competition looked, how they played each other. But with all that being said, please like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff, and let's go through the power rankings when I click on the thingy. Okay, here we go. Team 32, previously 32, I have Detroit Lions. Lions have been at 32 and will stay at 32 probably for the rest of the year. They've shown glimpses of being a good team, or not a good team, but a competitive team. They've, in certain games, in certain matchups, looked good. They, like, for instance, against the Ravens, against the, I'm trying to think of who else they played. The Ravens. Even against the Steelers are a way better team, a way better coach team than the Lions. They still look competitive. They just can't win games, and I think that Jared Goff, people want to bring up the argument of, oh, Jared Goff's completing 65% of his passes. Oh, they can run the ball really, really well. Yeah, they can, but the reason why they're going to stay at 32, in my opinion, they could change. They could win some games. Who knows? The NFL, especially if this year has taught us anything, is it's anybody's week, anybody's weekend, anybody's Sunday. But I just think that even though Jared Goff's playing statistically decent, he's not good enough to win them games. I think if he was worth anything, if he was worth more than just being a bridge quarterback, he would have won that game in overtime. I really think that game, most of it was on him for the reasons they didn't win. That's still, they didn't beat. It wasn't like it was Big Ben. It was Mason Rudolph. But for that reason, I'm keeping the Lions at 32. Coming in at 31, previously 31, I have the Houston Texans. Texans were on a bye. Oh, I forgot to mention this at the beginning, too. I try not to move teams that were on byes. They only will move if teams around them push them in a certain direction. So with that being said, the Texans were on a bye. They're going to stay at 31. Coming in at rank 30, previously 27, I have the New York Jets. If you're new to the channel, a big belief and theory I have is that if there's no tape, you could beat anybody. Anybody could beat anybody without any tape. Mike White did it against the Bengals. Jalen Hurts did it last year against the Saints. The Titans, who are playing well, upset the Rams because there was no tape on the Titans without Derrick Henry. And one of the knocks against the Titans was, or is, are they enough, or are they too Derrick Henry centric? Which they're proving not to be. Their defenses look phenomenal, but with the Jets, the Mike White experiment's over. Josh Johnson experiment's over. They're back to reality. No more 30-point games for them, in my opinion. I think when Zach Wilson comes back, the turnovers are going to come back. They're going to continue to lose games. They're going to continue to let Zach Wilson struggle for his development, but I think they're going down from 27 to 30. Coming in at rank 29, previously ranked 25, I have the Atlanta Falcons. The Atlanta Falcons only moved this low because of the teams that have moved up. I wasn't a huge believer in the Falcons to begin with. I know they kind of caught fire for a few weeks. They went on a nice little tear for them, but I didn't buy into the hype. I think they were just a better team than the teams that they were beating, if that makes sense. But I don't think they are a good team. And now I had a theory that at the beginning of the year that Matt Ryan was hurt, which is why they weren't opening up the playbook, and they were just kind of not using Kyle Pitts, not using Calvin Ridley, not using Russell Gage, which seemed to have become true. Matt Ryan I think week 4 or 5, he just decided to let it fly. But they just got completely outclassed by Dallas Cowboys. And I think that this is a team that's currently seeded or was seeded going into this week as a wild card team, and now they're out of that picture. And I think their schedule only gets harder. So I don't see them moving up at all. I think they're going to come right back to reality. Coming in at rank 28, previously 28, I have the Jaguars. I really wanted to move the Jaguars up because I look at the Jaguars each week and I just see them getting better and better and better. Every week they get better. And the most impressive thing to me about not this week, but the past week, which was they were able to beat the Bills without James Robinson, who is arguably their best offensive player. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence will become their franchise quarterback and all that good stuff, but they were able to beat a Super Bowl favorite without their best offensive piece. And they get better every week. They kept it close with the Colts. They kept it between a one-score game. The Jaguars, Urban Meyer definitely had a very hot seat, but I think that seat is getting less and less hot as more games the Jaguars play and the more they play together and play each week. At one point, they were the number 6 rushing team in the NFL, and I think that was the week prior to James Robinson getting hurt. But I would keep an eye on the Jaguars, especially if you're a sports bettor. Definitely keep an eye on the Jaguars for some upsets. Coming in at ranked 27, previously ranked 30, I have the Miami Dolphins. I know I've talked to a few Dolphins fans on Twitter, and I kind of asked them, like, yo, what's good with the Dolphins? Why are they not as good as they were last year? The Dolphins were a team that I thought was going to be very competitive this year, despite Tua growing or not. I thought their defense was that good. And a lot of them blame Brian Flores. And I kind of have started to push back on that and say, well, it's not really Brian Flores' fault. He's trying to win games with Jacoby Brissett more often than he's playing with Tua, and you can't run the ball. They're statistically the worst rushing offense in the NFL, or at least they were the last time I checked. But I don't blame Brian Flores as much as I blame the situation. The offensive line desperately needs help. The receivers are a mess. Devontae Parker is playing 1 week or not. Will Fuller was a huge waste of money. He hasn't played at all this season, or he's played 2 games. Jalen Waddle has a ton of promise, but he can't play by himself. And they don't attack the field vertically, which to me is the biggest thing. Is you have Jalen Waddle, and this Ravens game was a huge indicator of this. When you throw the ball to Jalen Waddle down the field, good things happen. But when you leash him to these underneath routes and expect him to just break one off 80 yards, it's kind of, I don't want to say not realistic because he can do it, but it's not reasonable to expect him to do it. I think he's done it once or twice this season, and he didn't even score. I think you need to let this kid go down he's so fast, like Tyreek Hill. Just let him attack the middle of the field, attack the deep middle of the field, attack the sidelines, and you need to trust Tua, or you need to encourage Tua to have the confidence to throw it down the field to Jalen Waddle. But Miami's moving up for this week. I put them above the Jaguars because Jaguars lost, Miami won, but I think Jacksonville did beat Miami, so maybe we could flip those two. It doesn't really matter. Coming in at rank 26, previously ranked 29, I have Washington football team. Like I said, any given Sunday, Washington went out there, upset Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I don't know if this was a testament of how truly hurt the Buccaneers are, or I don't really know, because up until this point, Washington has not been able to really do anything offensively, and all of a sudden, boom, they beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and score 30 points. So I have this one was kind of a stumper to me, but again, like any given Sunday, that's the story of the NFL this season. It really is any given Sunday, but the bad news for the Washington football team is why I think this is going to be their absolute maximum for the rest of the year. I think they play Atlanta this week, which then they'll probably win another game. But Chase Young tore his ACL, which sucks. You hate to see young, talented players like that go out of the season early, or get hurt like that anyway, and potentially stunt their careers or anything like that. So prayers out to him. But Washington at 26. Coming in at ranked 25, previously ranked 23, Seattle Seahawks. I think everybody thought with Russell Wilson coming back, this was going to be a competitive game. But I think that game more often shows more than anything how truly bad the Seattle Seahawks are everywhere. We all thought going into it, well, Russ is hurt and their defense is bad, so they're not going to be able to win games. But Russell Wilson came back, and he was shut out for the first time in his career. So I think a lot of people are speculating this might be the end of the Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson era. I'm just going to say it is. I know I shouldn't probably make blanket statements like that, but I really don't see how Russell Wilson is going to want to come back. I don't see how Pete Carroll is going to stay. There's just too many loose ends. To me, it just smells like a rebuild, like they're going to have to start over after the season. That I had them in. I thought they were going to make the wild card. I really do think Russell Wilson is that good. But after that game, I don't know if it was a testament to the Packers defense, or I mean, like they got shut out. It's not like they lost a competitive game. They scored 0 points. They couldn't get into field goal range. Granted, it was a snow game, the whole nine. Blah blah blah. DK Metcalf got ejected, but that was at the end of the game. And I just think the Seahawks are in a really bad spot. I think they're one of those teams that are going to need to start a rebuild, but unfortunately, they don't have their first-round pick. The Jets have their first-round pick because of the Jamal Adams trade. So bizarre. Why would you trade that much for a safety? But anyway, coming in at rank 24, previously 17, so quite a fall for the Steelers. I just kind of have thought the Steelers have been skirting by, and I think this game kind of exposed them for skirting by. I understand Ben Roethlisberger wasn't there, but if Big Ben is there, he can't really do much more than Mason Rudolph can at this point in his career. Sure, he maybe complete some tougher throws, but I wouldn't even say he could throw it farther than Mason Rudolph. I don't know if that's true. Excuse me, but the Steelers right now, or going into last week, were the 7th seed. We do a podcast every Thursday. I have the Steelers nowhere sniffing the playoffs. They have the third hardest schedule, or the second hardest schedule for the rest of the season, behind the Chiefs and the Browns, I think. I think it is the third. I don't see them winning many more games. They can't do anything. Chase Claypool can't stay healthy. Najee Harris is literally doing everything that kid could possibly do, except understand that there are ties in the NFL. And Deontay Johnson is a fantasy machine, but he really has to step up in the passing game. But again, how can he do that when they're not throwing the ball down the field? They're just throwing it to him and hoping he does good things. I think the Steelers are just not a good football team. They need a lot of help on the offensive line. Najee Harris is literally doing everything he possibly can to get this team wins, and Mike Tomlin is doing everything he can to keep this team competitive. Coming in at rank 23, previously 18, I have the Denver Broncos. The Broncos, to me, are just they're an elite team one week, and then they're trash the next week. They're an elite team one week, they're trash the next week. Their defense definitely is elite. I still do believe that. They need help stopping the run, especially with Von Miller being gone. I don't think they traded Von Miller because at the end of the day, they didn't need him that bad, and he is on the tail end of his career. But their offense is just lifeless. The only two pulses that offense has is Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. I am a huge Javonte Williams guy. He was my RB1 coming out of this draft. I think he's that good. I think if he was in Najee Harris's predicament, maybe the stats look different. Maybe he is putting up Najee stats. I don't know. But I think he is that good of a running back. But Teddy Bridgewater has to he's got to be more consistent. He's either got to, continue to throw the ball down the field, push the field vertically, or just death by a million cuts. And it's one or the, if you go back to the Giants game, week 1, they dominated the time possession. Then you go fast forward 2 weeks to, I forget who they played week 3. Airing the ball out. Teddy Bridgewater, I think, was leading the NFL in passes above 20 yards at that point. Now it's you don't know what you're getting from them. So for the Broncos, I think that they got to find their identity. Luckily, they have enough wins where they have at least 1 to 2 weeks wiggle room if they go 500, but they got to figure it out fast. Coming in at rank 22, previously ranked 26, I have the Panthers. A lot of people kind of lost their minds with this Panthers win. I saw people move them they were some people had them ranked 26 where I had them and moved them all the way up to 15, which I think is kind of insane. I understand they beat the Cardinals, but they beat a DeAndre Hopkins and a Kyler Murray less Cardinals. They didn't even have their star players. I also don't know if AJ Green played that game. But again, to my theory that there's no tape, nobody knew if Cam was going to play that week. Nobody knew what the offense was going to look like with Cam Newton in that game. And they won. They beat the Cardinals. And I think this just goes to my point that, 1, any given Sunday, 2, I guarantee you this next week, Cam Newton does not look nearly as good as he did against the Cardinals. I promise you. Because we've seen it happen with Trevor Siemian beating the Bucs. We've seen it happen with Mike White and the Bengals. It's happened so many times this season specifically. Watch next week what the Panthers do. Because I think that there is a reason the Patriots cut Cam Newton for Mac Jones. I think Mac Jones is better than Cam Newton. I mean, Sam Darnold is trash, but I don't see that big of a skill difference aside from the rushing upside of Cam Newton and arm strength between Cam Newton and Sam Darnold. So we will see. We will see what the Panthers do this week. I'm not moving them too high. I think they're still a bad offense. I think that Cam Newton can't push the ball nearly as far down the field as Sam Darnold did at the beginning of the year. Sam Darnold was averaging 300 yards per game at the beginning of the first 3 weeks. So we'll see what Cam can do. We will see. Coming in at ranked 21, previously 20. This is a team that, Chicago Bears run a bye. Justin Fields is starting to look good, but they moved down because of teams moving up in front of them. Same thing with the Giants coming in at ranked 20, previously 19. Have to drop them because I think teams underneath them earned their spots above the 20 and 21 spots. So we're just going to drop the Giants and Bears one spot for this week. Coming in at ranked 19, previously ranked 24, the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a team that I have been struggling to figure out all season long. If we go back through all of the weekly power rankings, the Eagles have stayed in the same spot more than any other team I have analyzed. And the reason being was you have the Eagles, they look like a scrappy defense, and they come out and beat the 49ers. They beat Atlanta, and we're like, whoa, is this Eagles team for real? And they come out and get slapped across the face, and then they come out again, their defense looks really good, and then they come out again, their defense still looks good, but they're running the ball one time in an entire half, and now they are the third most rushing yards per game in the NFL. So I really cannot figure out the Eagles. It could be because there's a new regime with Nick Sirianni. He's trying to figure out what the identity of this team is, what this team is really good at. Jordan Howard looks great, not going to lie. He's only he only averages 11, 12 yards per 12 attempts per game, and he's I think 100 yards behind Miles Sanders. But does that mean, am I saying Jordan Howard is better than Miles Sanders? No. It just goes to show how little they were using Miles Sanders for literally 8 to 9 weeks. So I don't know. I think the one thing that the Eagles are really, really good at is red zone efficiency. I think they are the most efficient team when they get in the red zone. So the Eagles are dangerous. I think if you let them get down the field on you, they're going to score points, whether it's a field goal or a touchdown. Jalen Hurts has been phenomenal you think he's been phenomenal all season, he's been phenomenal in the red zone, which you cannot dispute that. That is true. I'm not a Jalen Hurts believer by any means. I like the kid. I want to see more games out of him. I think his sample size is too small to move off of him. We talked about that in our latest mock draft video. I'll link that in the comment section or the description or whatever. But I think that Jalen Hurts is good enough for now. I don't think you go into this next draft with 3 first-round picks and draft a quarterback when you could build a team around him, see what you have, and then draft a quarterback in a better quarterback class. So we'll see with the Eagles. I think they're a very volatile team with what they do each week, because either they destroy a trash team or they get annihilated by a good team or they keep it close. The Eagles are all over the map. Coming in at rank 18, previously 21, I have the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings just beat the Chargers this week. It was a pretty impressive win. But the Vikings, their offense is good. Nobody's ever questioned their offense. Their defense is sus, to say the least. You just never know what you're going to get with Mike Zimmer. You never know what the game plan is going to be. You never know what the defense is going to look like. And you never know what Kirk Cousins is going to look like in the fourth quarter, which is the biggest thing for the Vikings. That's why I think the Vikings should start to look at a rebuild, especially if they miss the wild card this year, because Kirk Cousins is eating so much of their cap that it's tough for them to a lot of their superstars are coming off of contracts. They're going to become free agents, and how do you bring that back after you miss the wild card twice the past 2 years? So Vikings have talent. I actually picked the Vikings to win the NFC North while all the Aaron Rodgers debacle was going on. Then Aaron Rodgers showed up and pooped in my cereal. But the Vikings are good. I've always thought the Vikings were good. I've always thought they were a very competitive team. They just need to be more consistent. If they were more consistent, they would probably be a 6-3 team as opposed to 4-5. But coming in at rank 17, previously ranked 22, I have the San Francisco 49ers. This is another team that I've believed in in the preseason. I thought they were a very, very talented team. But, Jimmy Garoppolo's inconsistency, Kyle Shanahan's inconsistency as a coach, very funky. There's a very funky team. Because we also do a podcast every Thursday. In the podcast, I was talking about, if they lose this game, they need to just stop trying to make the playoffs and just play Trey Lance and get ready for next year. Because it makes no sense, and you invested 3 first-round picks into this kid essentially, and you're going to give him 200 snaps by the end of the season. Versus, now that they won, they're still in the playoff hunt because of how lackluster the NFC is. You either are 6+ wins or you have now 4 to 5 wins. So it's a very, very close conference. There's a lot of teams that have 4 wins. A lot of NFC teams won this week, which is huge for them because the wild card is wide open. But coming in at rank 16, previously ranked 12, the Las Vegas Raiders, not the Oakland Raiders. Raiders have lost 2 straight at this point. They lost to the Giants 2 weeks ago, and they just lost to the Chiefs. This is definitely the best game the Chiefs had. I think the Raiders kind of are struggling with their interim head coach. I think his name's like Nick Fasaccio or something. They kind of just they've strayed from their identity, and I think their game plan was pretty bad against the Chiefs. You need to run the ball against the Chiefs. They're the 2 worst rushing defenses in the NFL, I think, are the Raiders and then the Chiefs. And they just didn't run at all. I mean, I understand the Chiefs have the worst defense, but they didn't. I think this is gonna sound dumb, but Henry Ruggs definitely has an effect on losing Henry Ruggs has an effect on the team. The whole off the field stuff with John Gruden and Henry Ruggs has an effect on the team. But more importantly, losing Henry Ruggs has drastically affected their game plan in their passing attack. We've seen them go from the number 1 passing yards per game team to now they're slowly moving back towards the middle of the pack. So the Raiders, I think, are on a free fall. I never thought the Raiders were real or for real, but that was because of John Gruden prior to all the incident and everything. So now I kind of had a little bit of faith in them, but they're definitely struggling. I think the Henry Ruggs was just the last nail in the coffin for this team. But coming in at rank 15, previously ranked 14, I had the New Orleans Saints. Again, this is a team that I didn't believe in. To me, this is a 3-5 team. Or a 4-5 team, excuse me. Trevor Siemian comes in. Tampa doesn't know what to expect. Tampa's also extremely injured. They're one of the most injured teams in the NFL. And boom, you have yourself a win. Recipe for a win. And I really do think Sean Payton deserves way more credit to be in the Coach of the Year conversation. I don't think he gets nearly enough credit for that stuff. But Saints, the reason why I kind of got flamed, because on our Instagram I posted my playoff predictions, last week, which of course I should have just waited until the week was over. But anyway, had to do it at some point. And I got some flack for the Saints not being in it. And my reasoning is I don't trust the quarterback play, and I do not trust the wide receivers. Alvin Kamara is great, but they're not giving him the ball enough for him to be that good, and he's hurt. So why should I expect the Saints to continue to win games? Your defense wins championships if you also have an offense. Like, you need an offense to get you to the championship. And their offense just does not exist. The Saints' offense does not exist. But anyway, coming in at rank 14, previously ranked 16, I have the Indianapolis Colts. I was so high on the Colts before this season. They were my team to win the AFC South. I still think, they probably won't now because the Titans have run. The Colts needed to beat the Titans in their second divisional game. They didn't do that. So now the Colts are scrapping for the wild card. I think the Colts will win the 7 or 6 seed. They're kind of far out for the 6 seed, I think. Maybe not. They have a pretty easy schedule coming up. They have to play, I believe they play Jacksonville one more time. They definitely play Houston one more time. But they're in the middle of the pack when it comes to strength of schedule for the rest of the season. I think the Colts easily will, especially with how Jonathan Taylor's playing in that O-line, and Michael Pittman has more than become a beast. They will be a playoff team. And I think they're a team that's going to cause if the Colts played the Titans, if let's just say the Titans lost the 1 seed, right? If the Colts played the Titans in the first round, I would put my money on the Colts. 1, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. 2, and that is history backed. 2, actually maybe not, because the Titans might have Derrick Henry by then. But point remains, it's very hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. So I like the Colts. I think they're a very well balanced team. I think they're starting to click, especially on offense in the passing game more than anything. And their defense has been solid all year. But anyway, Coming in at pick 13. So much mock drafts I've been doing. Coming in at rank 13, previously ranked 13. The Bengals. Bengals run a bye this week, coming off of 2 humiliating losses, one to the Jets, one to the Browns. Hopefully they figured some stuff out over the bye and could get back to being, I mean, they were the 1 seed in the AFC at one point, so maybe they could, catch fire and steal a division. I think they'll probably squeak into the wild card if they can, figure it out. If their passing game isn't on, they will lose the game. They have one of the worst run blocking offensive lines in the NFL, and their defense is very okay in the secondary. So we'll see what happens with them. Coming in at rank 12, previously ranked 11, I have the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland Browns coming off a very humiliating loss to the Patriots, which I thought was going to happen, and then my brother talked me into taking the Browns plus 2.5, and God, I just need to listen to myself. Anyway, we're going to talk about the Patriots sooner than later, but I think this team, one of the first takes I've had since I've been on YouTube, which has been basically right before preseason. The Browns will go as far as Baker Mayfield will take them. That is my take. They have easily one of the most well-balanced rosters in the NFL, a top 3 roster in the NFL from top to bottom. The only glaring weakness they have is at quarterback. It's not at running back. It's not at wide receiver. I guess you could kind of make that argument now that Odell's gone. But it doesn't matter. They don't throw the ball anyway. Defense is fine. Pass rush is great. Secondary is great. Baker Mayfield is and it's so funny, man. 3 games in a row now. Not consecutive, but 3 times this has happened this season. The ball goes to Baker Mayfield to win the game. And he gets hurt in every single game. I will put money down. He plays this Sunday, and he is not even on the injury report. The dude, because there is what's it called? There is a story out there. Not really a story. That's not the right word. But there is I'll just talk about the stats. Baker Mayfield is one of the worst fourth quarter quarterbacks in the NFL. He has led the league in interceptions since 2018 in the fourth quarter. And every time, let's look at week 2, week 3, week 1 maybe, when the Browns played the Chiefs, and they had a 16-point lead going into the fourth quarter. And all of a sudden, Baker Mayfield has to throw the ball more than 6 times a game, and they lose. This kid knows that is an actual, people are talking about that. Oh, this is the word. That is a narrative. There is a narrative that if Baker Mayfield has to throw the ball, they're going to lose, especially if it's in the fourth quarter. Let's look at what he had to do against the Patriots before he got hurt. He had to throw the ball. Gets hurt. Quote. I don't know, man. I think Baker Mayfield is probably going to lose his job. Coming in at rank 11, previously rank 15, the Chiefs. I'm not going to overreact to this game too much. I don't think the Raiders are that good of a team, but I do think that the Chiefs are playing to their potential now. We all thought they were this good of a team. We've just it's just been missing, and thankfully, they've been able to skirt by. They survived the Giants 2 weeks ago on Monday night, or was that Sunday night, and they beat the Raiders. So they've kind of been saving themselves, because now they've bought enough time to where they have time to work out the kinks, and they've done that. They're now well above 500. I'm just still very on the fence. Was that just a good game for the Chiefs, or are the 2019-2020 Chiefs back? Because I don't know. I'm not going to say yes after one game, but that was a compelling win for Patrick Mahomes to have 5 touchdowns and 400 yards passing. So we'll see. But coming in at rank 10, previously ranked 8, I have the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers lose a tough one to the Vikings. A lot of people are saying that the Chargers are a slightly above average team. I don't really agree with that. I think the reason they're not going to go far, though, is because they can't stop the run, which is you need to be able to do that to win competitive games. You need to be able to establish the run. You need to be able to stop the run. That's how you win in the playoffs. And I just don't think that the Chargers can say, if their lives are on the line, to keep someone under 100 yards rushing, I don't think they could do it. But Chargers are still a good team. They can still get hot at any second. Their offense is ridiculously explosive. Even though Mike Williams has vanished into the nothingness, he still can turn it on at any second, and they could just score 100 points on you. But coming in at ranked 9, previously ranked 7, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tampa Bay loses a tough one to Washington football team. I think the takeaway from this game, though, is like this is how hurt Washington is, particularly in their secondary and now up front. They just lost Vita Vea, too, and they're missing Jason Pierre-Paul. And if Tom Brady throws some picks, like, you're done. Like, if your defense can't get you the ball back, can't balance out the turnover margin, and you're turning the ball over, you're going to lose games. Like, that's just how football works. I know I'm just speaking the obvious, but it is true, and I think a lot of people don't really understand that. But I think that the Buccaneers have bought themselves enough time where they just need to get healthy, and they'll be all right. I do believe that. I think there's very much so still Super Bowl contenders. I would never say they're not, especially with how bad the NFC is. Their really only threat is the Packers and LA. I want to say the Cowboys, but the Cowboys do this every single year. But I do subscribe to the Cowboys hype this year for the first time in a very long time. But we'll talk about them in a minute. Coming in at rank 8, previously ranked 5, Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens, like, they literally in this the video that we posted, this power ranking video last week, I said that the Ravens were my Super Bowl favorites. Like, it's turning into my Super Bowl favorites. And they go out and lose to the Dolphins. Like, that is just crazy. Because they'll do the impossible and like beat the Chiefs at Arrowhead and then lose to Miami Dolphins. So I think the Ravens are still a very scary team to face in the playoffs. I think every good team, I say this every week, but every good team is allowed one bad game. And I think that this was just a bad game for the Ravens. They had one against the Bengals and they had one against now the Dolphins. But I still think the Bengals are a very, very, very good team. And I think John Harbaugh and Lamar Jackson. John Harbaugh should be in the Coach of the Year candidate. Lamar Jackson kind of hurt his MVP chances with that game, but I still don't think he should ever be out of the running. But coming in at rank 7, previously ranked 10, the New England Patriots. Patriots are no surprise to me, and I think I'm kind of by myself with this, unless you're a Patriots fan, which I am not. But I have been so high on the Patriots since the beginning of the season. I didn't know. I thought they would finish 1 or 2 games behind the Bills for the division. But now, like, if you look at on our Instagram, I posted the playoff predictions, and if you listen to the podcast, I have the Patriots winning the division. I think they're that good of a football team, and Mac Jones is literally getting better and better every single week. And that's scary because this is a rookie who might win the division in his first year. He's playing better than Tom Brady was when Tom Brady was his age on the Patriots. He's doing everything right. And their defense, if you haven't noticed, is elite. People are like, oh my God, the Patriots are coming out of nowhere. No, it was right in front of your eyes the entire time. You just had to stop being a hater on Mac Jones. So many people, I think Tyrann Mathieu just called out or posted on Twitter, called everybody out and was like, this kid can't throw a sidearm or run around, so you slept on him. But he's a very good quarterback. And, like, that's what I saw in Mac Jones. Sure, his ceiling isn't as high as Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields or Trey Lance, but he is a very good quarterback. And going to the Patriots or even the 49ers, he would work right away. Like that, this should not be a surprise to anybody. Their biggest weakness right now is they need an elite wide receiver. If they went out and got Allen Robinson at the trade deadline, this team would be even more scary. Like, I don't understand why so many people are shocked that the Patriots are doing this. Like, it was not. So many people, to me, and this is like very true for the draft, they overlook the obvious. Like, don't reach on the Jalen Ragers when you have Justin Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb right there. Don't reach on the Henry Ruggs when, again, Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb are right there. I think too many people try to be smarter than they need to be. I'm not going to say be smarter than they are because I don't want to degrade anybody, but don't overthink the obvious. Just understand what's in front of you and the logic behind it, and you'll be all right. That's why the Patriots are not a surprise to me. They have the best coach. They have a phenomenal defense. They have so many players opt out last season, and Mac Jones is a very good quarterback, and he was a very good quarterback coming out of the draft. Anyway, coming in at rank 6, previously ranked 4, the LA Rams. Very, very, very embarrassing loss on Monday night with the new addition of Odell Beckham. I think that Kyle Shanahan just owns Sean McVay and the Rams. He might not be able to beat anybody else, but he will beat the Rams. And I think that this is a game where, like, Odell was, signed Thursday, and he's had Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, 3 days, really, to learn the playbook, I think that this is just a game where you lost Robert Woods to an ACL tear. You just got Odell Beckham, who's supposed to fill Robert Woods' role. And in the meantime, you have to rely on Van Jefferson. So I don't think that this is a knock on the Rams. I think they had a very difficult matchup with Kyle Shanahan, who has their number, and they were missing their second most important offensive player. I think this week they're going to come out. We're going to see Odell Beckham shine. We're going to see what this Rams team really is. Like, not that we don't know what they are, but we're going to see them back to form, I guess is a better way of putting that. But coming in at rank 5, previously ranked 9, I have the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo Bills got humiliated by the Jaguars and then went out and humiliated the Jets. So I guess it all balances out at the end of the day. I think the Bills still have one of the best defenses in the NFL. They have one of the best pass rushes in the NFL, which is very important. Their biggest weakness is running the ball. This is why, like, if the Bills played the Chargers, it would be a very interesting matchup because the Chargers can't stop the run, but the Bills can't run. So it's like the Chargers' biggest weakness is on defense is the Chargers' biggest weakness on offense. So how does the game play out? That's why I think matchups truly matter. But Bills, big win over the Jets, like humiliating win. Picked Mike White off, I think, 3 times, dropped 45 points on them. Just an absolute dunk. But I think that everybody's kind of overreacting, saying Josh Allen's not Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs isn't Stephon Diggs, blah, 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 blah. No, like, just let them be. There's the differences from last season to this season. Josh Allen took a leap last season. They had Stephon Diggs. There was no tape on that. No team had tape playing them. And now there's a whole season's worth of tape they could watch and see what worked against them, what didn't work against them. So now it's much more difficult for the Bills to be as dominant as they were, but they still can be that dominant on any given day. It just depends on the day. But coming in at rank 4, previously ranked 6, Dallas Cowboys. Cowboys dropped a pretty bad one to the Broncos last week and then came out and just ripped the Falcons in half. I think that was more of a Dan Quinn revenge game than anything else. But again, like, the Dallas Cowboys are a top, at this point, I don't see them dropping below 8, like a top 8 team. I think the Patriots could possibly be better than them. The Ravens could possibly be better than them. I just think there will always be someone underneath them. They're that good on offense, and they're that good on defense, apparently now. I think they have the best I've said this every single week. They have the best coordinators in the NFL. Dan Quinn has just completely revived this defense with Micah Parsons. And Kellen Moore is the best offensive coordinator in the NFL. Granted, he has a ton of weapons at his disposal, but he uses them all flawlessly. And he has Dak playing the best football of his career. Dak was, before the Broncos game, was completing 70% of his passes or more, which is outrageous. So I do believe in the Cowboys this year. I just get worried about them in the playoffs because they do this every year. But this definitely is the most compelling Cowboys team I have seen in a very, very long time. Coming in at rank 3, previously ranked 3, I have the Tennessee Titans. Barely survived the Saints. And this is to my point of, like, the first week against the Rams, there's no tape on them. Nobody knows what they're going to look like. Nobody knows how they're going to play without Derrick Henry. It's the first week. And they beat the defense has showed up every single week. The pass rush is legit, and their secondary is not bad. It's way better than it was last year. And Mike Vrabel is one of the best coaches in the NFL. I don't care what anybody says. He's top 5, I think. He's definitely up there. He's like either in that bubble or just outside it. But again, like, now they're starting to get tape on them. The Saints have a very good defense. Saints come out, almost beat them. They lose by a field goal. I think the Titans play the Texans this week, which they'll win. But they play the Patriots the week after that, and I would put money down that they lose to the Patriots that week. I think the Patriots are going to eat Ryan Tannehill alive. Plus, their run game is really non-existent. And any run game they have, the Patriots' run defense is good. It's pretty underrated, but it is very, very good. Coming in at rank 2, previously rank 1. I probably should not have moved them to rank 1 last week because we'll talk about it, but previously rank 1, I mean, I think these two teams are just going to flip-flop for the rest of the season possibly. But we talked about this with the Panthers. Cardinals lose a blower to the Panthers, or losing a blowout to the Panthers. I'm not gonna hold it against the Cardinals. They should not have been in the. It was a mistake by me putting them in the 1 spot last week, but they shouldn't. They're not dropping because of their loss, I guess. They just should not have been the 1 spot last week. I think I said that in last week's video, but they lost without Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. Colt McCoy got hurt during the game, and they were playing a team that had a different quarterback in with Cam Newton. So I'm not going to hold that against them. Good teams are allowed to have bad days, and this isn't the Cardinals we know. Like, this is the second-string Cardinals, essentially. And then coming in at rank 1, previously ranked 2, should have been rank 1. I should not have. It was a mistake on me to drop them because they lost to the Chiefs by a score. That's why I'm like, I don't know if the Chiefs are that good yet because Raiders have a bad defense. The Packers have a good defense, and they only won by 7 with Jordan Love playing. So this is my point. Like, the Packers should not have dropped because I forgot Jordan Love was playing. But Packers defense is legit. Again, it was in a snowstorm, so I can't say it's too good. I still think they can't stop the run. I think that has been like they played teams that don't really run the ball the past few weeks, in the Chiefs and who'd they just play? The Seahawks. And the Seahawks like completely abandoned the run. I don't think they've ran the ball more than 15 times. Could be wrong on that, but anyway, that's gonna be my power rankings for this week. Thanks for watching. Come back in the next video. We have more fantasy content coming out either today or tomorrow. Depends how I'm feeling, to be honest with you. But please check us out on Instagram. All of this content that has videos is on Instagram, and more extra content that we don't do videos on are on Instagram. You also can check us out on Twitter. We post some funny stuff on Twitter and kind of live tweet some stuff. Try to keep it up to date with breaking news and stuff like that. And then our podcasts are on YouTube, and they're also on Spotify at the Pylon Camp Podcast. But anyway, guys, it's going to do it for this video. It's going to do it for our power rankings this week. We will catch you in the next one. Peace!